member of the House Foreign Relations Committee, Iraq War vet himself. Congressman Kinzinger, thanks for being here. So this $3 trillion.
Hey, listen.
Yes.
Dan is wrong. The crypt is actually pretty creepy. It's creepy.
Maybe you undersold it. You might have undersold it. So, yeah, what do you make of this bill? I mean, we've been talking about it all morning, all the items in it. Nancy Pelosi strong-arming her caucus to get it passed. What's your take?
So, look, all this is, it's disappointing because we've done 4 or 5 coronavirus-related bills that were all bipartisan. We can go debate them and all that kind of stuff, but when it's all done, we do a bipartisan thing. This is not that. This is November focus. So what she wants to do, for instance, there was a repeal of the state and local income tax deduction that gives her blue state vulnerable Democrats the opportunity to say that they voted for that, that affects you. And then, by the way, your opponent probably wouldn't have. And so what you've done is you've taken a bill that she knows is going nowhere, and she's made it a political weapon for November. We need to resist, following suit of using this pandemic as political weapons, and we're doing that for the most part, but they can't help themselves. And that's what that was. It was a disappointing, not real attempt to govern and help the American people that need it really badly.
Congressman, her assumption, though, is that people will do no research. People will just assume, oh, Republicans must not care about, people suffering with COVID. But instead, people are actually looking at this, and they're aware of what she's done, which is to try to paint something as this is for coronavirus relief, when, in fact, she has stuffed it with all this entire left-wing agenda. So are people like Nancy Pelosi just convinced that the American people are dumb?
I just think what it is she gets pulled so far to the left. I mean, she actually looks moderate in comparison to some of these new Democrats. She gets pulled so far to the left, she has to appease them. Unlike the old days when, we actually didn't have a $30 trillion debt almost, she thinks that she can just author this kind of Christmas tree of whatever anybody wants. And I saw her in an interview where she was kind of giggling about how big this was going to be. And, we're going to have some real tough decisions to make when the economy recovers because of our debt. And it's just not a serious attempt to govern. Like, this is a real moment. This is something that should be bringing us together with serious conversations. And it had legislatively up until yesterday. It's disappointing. But you know what? The adults here will come in, we'll take over in the Senate, and we'll get something done ultimately.
And, Congressman, you adults also do oversight. I want to ask you about President Trump. Fox News is reporting that President Trump is possibly going to restore partial funding to the World Health Organization after a pause to investigate the coronavirus response. Obviously, by now, most Americans are aware that China suppressed and tried to conceal the outbreak. Here is the tweet we're getting from President Trump responding to one of our hosts, Lou Dobbs. It says, Lou, this is just one of numerous concepts being considered under which we would pay 10% of what we have been paying over many years, matching much lower China payments, have not made final decision. All funds are frozen. Thanks. But, Congressman, as we know, the WHO was tweeting that the human-to-human transmission wasn't a factor early on, cost thousands, if not millions, of cases to break out.
Yeah, so I think it's actually an interesting concept because the issue with the WHO, we don't want to just abandon it and disband it, but we want the head of the WHO gone. He is absolutely in the pocket of China. And there's no better opportunity than to say, we're going to withdraw most of our funding. We'll still have a seat at the table. But if you want U.S. money, you're going to have to make a change. And we've seen these intel agencies around the world, and in Europe particularly, saying, yeah, in fact, we know that the head of WHO had a conversation with China and then, cast his vote against declaring this a pandemic, called it the most transparent, country in the world, basically, on this. So we need answers. I think the answer here is not to disband the WHO. It's to have real changes and take out Chinese influence in it. And I think if the president makes this decision, it may be an interesting opportunity to use that money as leverage for change.
Congressman, I want to shift over to some of the protests that are going on, particularly in Illinois with the state's stay-at-home order. That's in place until the end of the month. So what are constituents saying to you about this?
Well, they're pretty ticked off. So in Peru, Illinois, a Hobby Lobby somebody, called and tattletaled that it was open. So the police had to come and shut it down. They didn't storm it, but, they showed up and said, hey, we're under orders to shut this down. Hobby Lobby shut down. Hobby Lobby, right? I think what's happening is you have people, my district's mostly rural. Some towns are like 100 people. That's already socially distanced. And but they're being treated as if they're in a hot spot like Chicago. And the governor, when he comes out and he threatens things like, I'm going to withhold federal funding from these local communities, that makes people even angrier. And I think what these kind of left-wing governors are forgetting is that people are free in America, and they'll be voluntarily, to help to stop a pandemic. But they don't want to have your thumb put on them, particularly after we have flattened the curve, and we were told that was the goal.
Congressman, do you think people should start opening up, sort of responsible civil disobedience, saying you can't shut us down forever, my business will go under?
So I'm not going to call for that. I'm going to say, that I think that the state of Illinois and the governor needs to make even more flexibility to his plan, make it achievable, and understand that, if people wear masks in public and keep their distance, we can basically prevent the spread as much as a lockdown can too.
We shall see. Adam Kinzinger, thank you very much. Appreciate your time this morning.
Anytime. See you guys.